Another day, another poor performance for the LA Clippers. This one coming in our first home game since the All-Star break against the Sacramento Kings. I was in attendance, and man, was it a beatdown. Actually, not really a beatdown, but a poor performance in which we were playing catch-up the whole game and never quite could reach Sacramento. Didn't have Paul George. Going to talk about what's been going on with the Clips and what happened in this game on today's Locked On Clippers.
Are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 19th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. I will have a video of my experience at the game on Monday. Or on Sunday, out on Monday on my channel. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. And I want you to let me know everything that you're thinking. And in this game, got a lot of thoughts. But this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Go to FanDuel to place your bets on the Clippers winning it all. The odds might be going down a little bit right now, so might as well go right now and place your bets. But we're going to talk about this game, a game in which we didn't rebound well enough, a game in which we looked slow, and we didn't have Paul George. And no Paul George. He was ruled out about an hour or two before the game. He was questionable, downgraded to questionable in the morning. And then, I can't even remember if it was the morning or the day before. It's been such a hectic couple of days for me. But he was downgraded to questionable, and then he was ruled out with knee soreness. Now, we know that Paul George has been dealing with a groin injury. I don't know anything about a knee injury. I'm just hoping that this is the second game this season where Paul George has been load managed. We load managed him against the Pistons. I'm hoping this is just another one of those, precautionary, even though we have not been load managing like that this season. I'm hoping that this is a game that we did. Because Paul George, he has missed 4 games before this one. 4 games. Wow, Kawhi Leonard has already played 50 games. Actually, 51 games. Paul George, this was his 4th missed game of the season. Clippers are now 37-19 after this loss to the Sacramento Kings, 123-107. It was our 7th loss at home this season. And some of my main takeaways. So no Paul George, which automatically makes things tougher, even though he's been struggling. So, by the way, as far as the decision to sit him, he hasn't looked very right recently. And I personally don't think he's looked he hasn't looked unhealthy to me at all. He's just doing the same things that Paul George does when he doesn't play well, which is, make the game complicated for himself, settle for jumpers, shoot too many outside shots, a lot of dribbling, bad turnovers, lazy defense, that kind of thing. But hopefully this game that we gave him off will do him well. And listen, it better because we lost, and I think this is a totally different game if we have Paul George. We started Norman Powell in place of him, which was a little bit interesting to me because usually we'll start Amir Coffey, and I thought our defense was pretty poor all game long. We conceded 123 points, and it just felt like we were slower on our rotations defensively, in transition. Remember, the Kings, they played a breakneck pace last season. They still play on the faster side, and we don't. And when we had Russell Westbrook in the game for 18 minutes, he had his good and bad moments. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. He had 1 turnover when he got the ball poked away from him from behind. I still don't love his shot selection. He was 3 for 10 and 0 for 2 from 3, but I thought he did some good things moving the ball or pushing the ball up the floor. But man, it's like this type of game, you'll have the Russ fans saying that he was great. You'll have the Russ haters or the people that just don't like the way he plays saying he was awful. Obviously, I do love Russell Westbrook, but in my opinion, he was just okay. I think he did add some energy. He did make our defense look better. But overall, his shot selection was just poor. He just shoots too much. And he has been shooting too much for the last couple of games. But it's hard to find that many players that played well for the Clippers on Sunday night. I think Zubac was excellent. I think he did a really good job defending the rim against Sabonis. Sabonis did have a triple-double, and he had it before the third quarter even ended, which was wild. But he was 7 for 17, so I thought Zoo did a decent job keeping him in check. The only thing I'll say is he got 7 offensive rebounds, Sabonis did. 7. That really hurt us. And I think the offensive rebounding was a major story in this game. At one point, it was 14 offensive rebounds for the Kings to 7 for us. It ended up being 14-10, but a couple of those may have been in garbage time. It was 14-7 at one point. Just they were getting a lot of rebounds, but I just thought we looked slower than them. We've been looking slower and older than every one of the last 3 teams that we've played. Is the toll of the season is the wear and tear of the season taking its toll on our team and how we're an older roster? Because we're not playing well defensively. And it's nothing that we haven't done. I mean, of course, we are going to be worse without Paul George, most likely, and we're replacing him with Norman Powell. But there was nothing out of the ordinary, like the matchups to start the game. We had Harden on Harrison Barnes, Terrence on De'Aaron Fox, Zubac on Sabonis, Kawhi on Herter, and Norman Powell on Keegan Murray. Then on the other side, you had Sabonis guarding Zoo, Keegan guarding Norm, Harrison Barnes guarding Kawhi, De'Aaron Fox guarding James Harden, and then Kevin Herter guarding Terrence Mann. And I thought one thing that was very interesting to start the game was that Terrence Mann, and it was the second straight game I could say this, he was aggressive and he was getting going. Cutting to the basket, making his open threes. Well, he only made 1 3, and he only shot twice from 3, which I think he could have done more. Making good extra passes, cutting, and then either scoring or finding another guy. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists in this game for Terrence on 6 for 7 shooting and 1 for 2 from 3 in 39 minutes. I will say, though, he had his hands full with De'Aaron Fox, and I'll say this about it. A couple of times we got burned going under the screen because you really don't want to let De'Aaron Fox get downhill. But Terrence Mann is very solid at what he does, but I don't think he can be the best point of attack defender on a championship team. I really don't. I think he's a good defender. I don't think he's insane. If you disagree with me on that and you think he's great, I'm more than happy to hear your reasoning because I do love Terrence Mann, as everybody knows, but there wasn't many alternatives to guarding De'Aaron Fox, really. I mean, had we blitzed them and put Sabonis in the short roll, that would leave the shooters open for the Kings because if Sabonis gets the ball in the middle of the floor, you're obviously going to have to rotate. He's going to kick it out and find the shooters. And they were doing a much better job knocking down threes than us. They were 40.5% from 3, 49.5% from the field. We were 49% from 3, but just 30%. I'm sorry, we were 49% from the field, but just 30% from 3. The only positive statistic I can give you from like the shooting splits, well, 49% from the field is pretty good, but we were 95% from the foul line, but we turned the ball over 15 times and overall ended up shooting 9 less times than the Kings, and they just looked more lively. The rotations were sharper, ours were not, and as I said, we didn't do anything out of the ordinary defensively. We had Zubac play drop coverage. At times we got burned. Then we started having Daniel Tice at one point when he was in, and I'll talk more about that in a second. Notice I said Daniel Tice and not Mason Plumlee. We started having him come out and show, but Fox would still split and find a way to get downhill. And then, we were letting the other guys shoot threes, meaning when I say letting the other guys shoot threes, I don't mean willingly. I mean part of the scheme. You're taking away the roller in Sabonis. You're taking away Fox. You got to give something up if you're not switching 1 through 5. We switch 1 through 4, not 1 through 5. And they were making shots, they're three-point shooters, and they were just doing a better job of creating good looks, it felt like. Their point of attack defense was better than ours. Keegan Murray and De'Aaron Fox were really getting into our best players. And I think that Keegan Murray, every time I've watched him this season, he's been much better defensively than last season. But I also think that this game was really poorly officiated, and it felt like we couldn't do anything. Like, the fact that they had more free throw attempts is just insane. Like, there was so many terrible calls. I mean, I don't complain about officials that much, as you all know, but it was egregious at one point. I was at the game. It was egregious. But I'm not saying that's the reason we lost. I just think it added to the hurt and made it tough for us to come back because we were really in the game. The whole first half was pretty neck and neck. We were up by 3 after 1, but the second quarter they outscored us 33-23, and they went into the halftime with a 58-51 lead. And then it was another third quarter where a team kind of turn up the gas on us, and we just kind of fell apart. We saw it against Minnesota, we saw it against OKC, and now we see it against Sacramento. We just look gassed. And when we start missing shots, teams are going to beat us down the floor because they know we're old and they know we're slow. And when we play Russell Westbrook less, again, in this game only 18 minutes, and you can make an argument based on his plus minus, having a plus 10 plus minus, which was the best of any Clipper by a lot, by the way. He was actually the only Clipper in the positive of the plus minus. And again, I'm not big on single game plus minus, but he was part of the best stretches of our team. And you can make an argument that we could have used his energy and pace in this game instead of Harden, who played 35 minutes. And I have to say, James Harden, he looked slow and he couldn't really get the step on anyone tonight. And he still created a lot of good advantages. He made some good extra passes, made some solid reads in the pick and roll. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, but he had 3 turnovers. He was a team worst minus 25. His defense was non-existent, and he shot 4 for 13 from the field, 2 for 10 from 3. 2 for 10. He shot 10 out of our 27 threes. And I'm really concerned if this season, the long season is just taking its toll on Harden's body. He hasn't missed a game. He's played heavy minutes. And now we're talking about, should we load manage him maybe? I mean, the age of this Clipper team is starting to hurt. And we looked slower than these guys. Coming up, though, going to be talking more about what was going on in the third quarter and how rebounds really hurt us. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about Grammarly. No matter what kind of work you do, how you communicate is key. Grammarly is your AI writing partner to help you communicate more effectively and efficiently so you can make a bigger impact at work. I use Grammarly when I need to write an email that's really long, and I just feel as though, let me get a second person. I wouldn't call it a person, but a second outlet to compare my writing towards. 96% of Grammarly users report that Grammarly helps them craft more impactful writing. Grammarly works across 500,000 apps and websites. By understanding your writing and context, Grammarly provides relevant, personalized suggestions. Their tone suggestions help you navigate even the most difficult work conversations. Make a bigger impact at work with Grammarly. Sign up and download for free at Grammarly.com/podcast. That's GRAMMARLY.com/podcast. Easier said than done. All right, Clippers losing this one 123-107 against the Sacramento Kings. We've now lost 2 of our last 3 games since the All-Star break, and I'm not going to lie, that game against the Grizzlies didn't even feel like a win. We played so badly. Our defense has been pretty weak, and it's been before the All-Star break. Point of attack, not many guys are taking pride. We switch so much, and a lot of guys, and you saw it in this game, when you switch a lot, you got to be ready to potentially rebound against a bigger guy. And one thing that the Kings were doing to us is they're going to push the ball in transition, right? You can't always get back to your man in transition. Sometimes you're cross-matched and you have to just pick up who's closest to you to prevent a fast break opportunity, right? So you're picking up ball. Now that causes maybe somebody that's not named Ivica Zubac to be guarding Sabonis. And in these situations, he was mauling us on the offensive glass. And I'll say this too. In the first quarter, Norman Powell allowed 2 offensive rebounds that resulted in Sacramento King baskets. And that was a bad precedent, in my opinion, to start the game. I think Norm was good offensively. 21 points, 8 for 17 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and made some really tough shots. But defensively and on the glass, he offers... Defensively, he hasn't been bad this season, but he's not good. And then on the glass, he really, when he gets switched on to bigger guys, doesn't try at all to do anything. And, oh man, it was just hard. James Harden missing threes. We just weren't getting good shots. And in games like this, I really think, if of course, Paul George not being there hurts our spacing. It hurts our, just ability to get another guy that can create at a high level. Kawhi was getting double teamed a lot, very frequently. He had a solid first quarter with 8 points, but they started double teaming him. And when we had, the Terrences, the Amirs, the Russes, we tried PJ Tucker for a bit, and he had one nice deflection, but that was about it. He only played 5 minutes, had a donut, 0 for 1 from the field. I love PJ Tucker because of experience I had with him as a kid, meeting him, but the dude has had more donuts than Krispy Kreme in the last 2 years. I mean, this guy, he frequently doesn't score, and right now his impact in the other aspects of the game, rebounding, defense, they're not good enough anymore at his age to overcome that lack of offense. And I thought one thing that was interesting in this game was that we played Tice instead of Plumlee, and I'm hoping that is a permanent thing going forward. And I thought Tice was not bad at all, really. 8 points, 4 or 5 from the field. Here's the thing about Tice. He's undersized, but he gave you 8 points and 6 rebounds in 14 minutes on 80% shooting. He made solid reads in the short roll. He had a nice floater, push shot, and I think he offers more resistance at the rim than Mason, even at his size. He had a block, and I remembered it was a nice one. Mason doesn't have blocks, doesn't get blocks. As far as Zubats, I thought he was really good, protecting the rim, finishing around the basket. 16 points, but only 6 rebounds. We definitely needed more. 2 assists, 1 steal, but 4 turnovers. That's not good for your center to have 4 turnovers. Kawhi had 3. He's had 9 turnovers in his last 2 games. James Harden had 3. He's had 7 turnovers in the last 2 games. Terrence Mann had 2. We got to take better care of the ball. But a lot of it was just they outworked us. Their rotations were sharper. They were first to most of the loose balls. They out-rebounded us and outshot us. They just played better in every facet. They were better defensively. They were better offensively. They created more advantages offensively. And their players knocked down more shots. We didn't deserve to win this game. We were nowhere near good enough. I thought Terrence Mann was good. I thought Zubats was pretty good. I thought Kawhi was solid. He played good. He actually tries on defense still. I can never say he doesn't try. I thought he was decent defensively. Had 4 steals and a block, but 20 points on 7 for 18 shooting, 0 for 3 from deep, 6 for 7 from the foul line in 36 minutes. The thing about Kawhi is he started out 0 for 3, and it felt like slowly but surely he was going to get going, and he did. He had 8 points in that first, but he only had 12 points the rest of the game, and we didn't have Paul George. So we needed a lot more from him. And I think part of the reason that we struggled is they would double team and load up. And when we have several non-shooters in the court, that can be tough. But it's not even having non-shooters. Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey, for example, 3 games since the All-Star break, he's been poor, out of nowhere. He had a donut on 0 for 2 shooting. So 2 guys we brought off the bench had donuts. Brandon Boston did too, but he only played 1 minute of garbage time. But Amir Coffey, donut. PJ Tucker, donut. Russ and Tice with 8 points each to get 16 off the bench. But remember, Norman Powell was starting, so that's all we had was 16 points off the bench, whereas the Kings had 25. Let me know in the comments what you think about Russell Westbrook. Should he have played more? Because 18 minutes when he was actually creating a positive impact is not enough. And we've seen that he can play with Harden in the right lineups. It's not like they can't play with each other anymore. But I do think there are a lot of possessions where Russ is just kind of tucked in the corner. And I think that it's better when he's at the top, when Kawhi's isolated and getting doubled, because then he can just cut and Kawhi can find him right away. Whereas when he's in the deep corner, opposite side, teams are going to leave him, right, in the opposite corner and force you to throw that cross-court pass. Why do they force you to throw that cross-court pass? 1, because Russ is obviously a non-shooter, but 2, because when you throw a pass across the court in the air, you have more time to recover. And NBA athletes, they will recover better than most, better than anyone. So I think if we want to have Kawhi in the post with Russ in the game, I think we have Russ either throw the entry pass or be 1 pass away. The thing I want Russ to not fall in love with is catching and shooting from 3 at the top of the key. But one thing for Kawhi, and I've talked about this a little bit recently, and I think he's done a little bit better recently, but tonight or Sunday night he kind of reverted back. He's not working quickly enough when he gets doubled, in my opinion. he's either not, like sometimes they're not going to full on double. They're going to load up, right? Which is meaning that they're going to help off of their guy on Kawhi, but they're not fully committing to a double team. And in a situation like that, he either needs to attack opposite where the double's coming, or just, get into your bag and pull up. Because if that second defender doesn't really commit, then you're basically still in a one-on-one situation with just a guy in the, behind him down the tunnel. But you're still one-on-one essentially. And if you don't want to shoot it, quick swing and let's go. I think there were too many times that we just didn't swing the ball fast enough and find the open man when he was getting doubled. And that's something we need to work on, because he's going to get doubled as the season goes on, and teams are going to start figuring that out too. But I think we need to be also careful of what kind of lineups we put around Kawhi when he's getting doubled like that. And you know who really helps? Paul George. And coming up, going to be talking about what we really missed in his absence and why we need him back desperately despite his struggles. I got to tell you a little something about Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you can get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. Easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And they send 5 just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. I keep what works and send back the rest. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That's stitchfix.com/lockedon. stitchfix.com/lockedon. All right, Clippers losing this one 123-107. I thought our defense was poor. I just thought almost everything was poor. Kawhi Leonard finished with 20 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, and a block on 7 for 18 shooting and 0 for 3 from deep. That's all the starters. I've basically gotten everybody in the rotation stat-wise now. As far as the Sacramento Kings, Sabonis had a triple-double with 17 points, 15 boards, 12 assists, and then he also had 3 steals. And then Harrison, I think part of it was just the Kings played so well. Let me just say this. The Kings aren't a good defensive team, and they played very good defense in this one. And then De'Aaron Fox has typical, 33 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals on 12 for 22 shooting, 9 for 10 from the foul line. Some very generous calls, I might add. But he's a beast. He's so hard to stop. Great game for him. 33 points in 33 minutes. And then a guy who's been so up and down this season, Kevin Huerter. What a solid game he had. 15 points on 6 for 10 shooting and 3 for 6 from 3. And then maybe the most surprising of them all, Harrison Barnes, who was piss poor the last time we played him. He's averaging 12 points a game this season. But he is shooting 39.5% from 3. He had 22 points on 8 for 12 shooting and 4 for 7 from 3. And let me tell you, some of these shots were with a hand in his face. I was really surprised at his performance. So I think partially, it was that the Kings played better than us and just had a very good game. But let me just say this. We all know that the Clippers not going for another forward or another big body may come back to bite them, and it's looking like it is. We're just not tough enough on the glass. We're not big enough. And the Kings aren't that big. That's why I say that this game was really about, when it comes to that rebounding I was talking about, it was really about effort and timing and anticipation and just going and getting it. The Clippers look lethargic, as if they didn't even have a break. And that concerns me a bit, because now we're in the 4th seed, and Denver is Denver. And we finish 4th. That's not that top 3 seed I've been talking about. We then have to play a dogfight first round against Phoenix. People are saying, oh, Sacramento moved into the 5th seed. That's the best matchup for the Clippers. I really don't know if Sacramento's going to finish there. And if we play Phoenix or Dallas in the first round, we are going to be in for a war, an absolute war. And you know what? We may not get this lucky against Luka this time with Kyrie Irving now and Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, and the team that he has now. Phoenix, I still take my chances with them. But playing them in the first round, that's going 6 or 7, at least 6 games. And then you're playing Minnesota in the second round as a reward, who we've clearly seen that we struggle with. We need Paul George back now. We can't afford to lose these games. We got the Lakers on Wednesday, and we have 2 days off. I'm hoping this was just load management, the rare load management this season, and Paul George is back against the Lakers because we desperately need him. Even when he's missing, he's contributing. And you can see why with the spacing, the amount of plays we can run through him. Him just being on the court changes the way teams guard us. And that's very important that people need to understand, even if he's 2 for 13. I'm serious. People saying, oh, Paul George needs to sit. You happy with what you got? Because we clearly need him. I don't care that it was one game. You can clearly see that if we did not have Paul George, this seems like either a 5 or 6 seed. It's like a 5 or 6 seed at best. Maybe a play-in team. Paul George, he's massive for us. So we need him back. We miss you, Paul, already. Seriously. By the way, so to end off, so tough loss. Am I concerned? A little bit. Do I think we can still turn around and get a top 3 seed and go into the playoffs momentum? Absolutely. Who am I most concerned about? Well, 1, Paul George because he's injured. But 2, James Harden. He just looks like, is the season taking its toll? And then 3, Russell Westbrook. He has had 3 games since the All-Star break. I can't say any were good. I think this was decent, but like we win a jump ball, we have no numbers, and he's turning on the Jets, and he gets the ball poked from behind. Like these kill momentum, in my opinion. And I love Westbrook. You've seen me defend him all the time on this show. I feel nervous. Like he'll get to the rim whenever he wants, and he'll smoke these layups, and he smoked like 2 or 3 again tonight or on Sunday night. I keep saying I can't. It's 1:50 a.m. right now on Monday. Okay, I keep messing up that tonight. It's Monday episode. It's 1:50 in the morning. Okay. By the way, the Clippers made an announcement at this game that there's going to be something big coming up on Monday at the Grove. Or was it Tuesday? It's either Monday or Tuesday. But I believe it's going to be a rebranding going into the new stadium. I saw Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Terrence Mann's fit and James Harden before the game. And they had this different LA logo with a C that looked like a compass. And then they also had the red with the Clipper cursive like the old days. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been waiting for us to change our logo since the day we changed it to this Dojo Studio looking logo in 2015. I have been so hesitant and resistant to buying jerseys since we've switched to that logo or any Clipper merch for that matter. Because we used to have some of the best jerseys in the NBA, and we changed to that dojo-looking logo that I can't stand, the LAC, and we had that atrocious red jersey that I was never going to buy and got discontinued so quick because it was so awful. I think maybe the worst jersey in the history of basketball. And then we have the black jersey, which I love the color, but I didn't want to buy it because I hate that logo, so that's why I only have the blue jersey. I don't have the white one, surprisingly, but you know what? Might as well wait because I think we're going to hear the news. I have no proof, but everyone seems like they're trending towards with what we've heard about Paul George saying, red, we got something in store for you next year. Bringing back the red is iconic. Look at the screen. If you're watching on YouTube right now, Locked On Clippers is blue and red. We have always been red. But everyone's like, oh, Donald Sterling, that reminds us of him. When you think of the color red and the Clipper red, do you think of Donald Sterling, a racist old white guy that used to own our team? Or do you think of the Clippers that are playing basketball that you saw wear red jerseys that you used to rock? I mean, come on. The sea of red in the playoffs. I love the sea of blue in 2021, but we have never been able to, and last year was good in Game 3, but we've never been able to replicate that sea of red that we had in Lob City's era. We got to bring it back. And I can't wait to hear this announcement that we've likely changed our logo because, man, it was some great basketball with this logo, but I'm ready to move on so I can really be enthusiastic about buying merch again. And I hope these jerseys can't be worse. But, man, I'm excited. And, by the way, it did feel good to be back at the arena. My first look at the Kobe Bryant statue, that was pretty cool. Everyone was huddled around it. Like all the other statues, it was like they weren't even there anymore. And it's only because it's so recent. It's so new. It's like, wow. And it's so tall. Like, it's the same, that Kobe's body on the statue is about the same as everybody else's, except for Magic, who's just, his statue is just gigantic. But it's so tall and it's so central. And you know what I think is interesting? I was shocked that they put a statue there because that's like the main walkway. It's right in front of those pots when you get off the street and go to the sidewalk at Star Plaza. It's crowded after games. Like that's where everybody walks. It's like rush hour. And so that's an interesting decision they made to put that statue there, especially such an iconic one. But I want to say, I think her name was Shayla that I met at the game. Shout out to you. Came up to me at the game. If you're listening, appreciate you. I say to any fans or anybody that listens to the show, if you see me at a game, don't be like hesitant. I'm a nobody. I'm just a fan, okay? I'm not anybody that important. So I love hearing that. Like, it's just very touching for me, who's been, going to games since I was a little kid, and hearing that other Clipper fans care what I have to say. Like, it's just the best feeling in the world. So 5,000 guys, I really appreciate that you guys got us there, and let's keep on going. And 26 games, buckle up. It's going to be hopefully not too bumpy of a ride, but sheesh. Oh, it's looking a little bit shaky right now. 26 more to go, 37-19. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. By the way, so many Kings fans in this game. They had like a bunch of, groups from like Facebook groups and stuff travel to the game I saw on Twitter. It did not seem like a normal, Sacramento Clippers game. It was clearly, it was a Sunday. They made a trip out of it. And by the way, whoever is running sound this season at Clipper games, and I've mentioned this on this podcast before, needs to be fired. It's tonight. They played the Let's Go Clips beat, the dun, 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 when the Kings were winning by double digits with 2 minutes left. Read the room. When you play that dun, 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 you're basically throwing a Chris Paul to Blake Griffin alley-oop for them to start chanting Light the Beam. And it was very loud when they did it. That might have been a Laker fan doing it, working in the sound. It's been several sound errors this season. During a national anthem, they messed up one time. Whoever's doing it, they need to be fired. That's inexcusable. It looks horrible on TV. Shame on whoever that is. You should not have a job. I'm not joking. I'm actually not. It's not an honest mistake. You are not paying attention. Fired. The age-old proverb continues. By the way, next episode is going to be on Tuesday, and it's going to be about what this announcement was and reacting to the colors. Have a good one. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.